Hi again. Now, as I mentioned last time, there is another valuable source all journalists have to help them generate stories. It's themselves. As I'm sure you've already realized, one of the key skills needed to be successful as a journalist is the ability to speak to people. And at least equally as important is getting people to speak to us. Fortunately, this too is not particularly difficult with a little practice. From here on in, I'd like to talk to you as though you were a journalist having to come to grips with finding competitive news items, interviewing people, and writing in a dynamic newsroom. One of the best ways to develop your skills in this situation is with help from a trusted relative or friend, somebody you feel comfortable with. Start the conversation with something likely to be of interest to both of you. Then just relax and be prepared to follow and contribute to the conversation as it develops. There's no need for a specific agenda, just listen carefully and enjoy the experience. A story idea may emerge or it may not, but at the very least, it will broaden your knowledge on the subject. And, as with most relaxed conversations, the subject is likely to change within a few minutes, or less if either of you deliberately takes it in another direction. And this is where it is most likely to trigger an idea for a newsworthy story. It's remarkable how often just relaxing and talking with somebody, anybody, will produce a story idea, possibly one neither of you had even thought about beforehand. Now, on a related matter, I'm often asked when and where it is acceptable to approach people to get a story and what questions can be asked. There are no set rules, but most public and even some business places are considered fair game, provided you disclose who you are and what you are doing. It is also generally okay to enter private property to talk to people, unless there's something restricting your way. Now, this might be anything from a keep out sign to a locked gate or even a dangerous-looking dog. Often, though, the easiest way to discuss something with somebody, irrespective of whether you're on familiar terms, is to telephone or message the person in advance and simply ask for a few minutes of their time. Or, better still, ask for an appointment to meet with them face to face. Experience shows most people will help if they are comfortable about your intentions and integrity, and if they cannot help directly, the great majority will at least try to provide the name of somebody who can. For those who don't want to help, or even try to stop you getting information from anywhere, it's time to quickly look for another source. Most likely, this will be somebody who holds a quite different view of the subject to the person who has refused to help you. It's quite rare for everybody on all sides of a contentious and newsworthy matter to refuse comment. But if that does happen, that's probably the opening line of your story. Something like, key players are tight-lipped about, and so on. Now, when you get to the interview stage, you're free to ask any question you like, especially if it's related to the subject of your report, and if it is asked politely and without undue bias. But always remember, the person being interviewed has the right to refuse to answer any question or terminate the interview at any time. But if you keep the discussion on a professional and low aggression path, the interview is likely to run its full course, and the best result will be achieved for all. If all efforts to get a balanced story fail, because only one side of an issue is willing to provide a spokesperson or comment, you should say so in your report, usually towards the end of your story. Another challenge for newcomers to journalism is confidently distinguishing between useful and useless information. Probably the best way to decide is to ask yourself, how your readers would respond to the material you're being given, and whether it has any real bearing on the subject you're covering. I'll be back soon with a brief précis to help you remember the key points we've covered, and to leave you with some parting remarks.